Somewhere far from Wall Street boardrooms and Silicon Valley tech labs, a quiet but staggering fortune has grown, one that even the world's richest billionaires could envy. It belongs not to Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, or Bernard Arnault, but to a king in Africa whose wealth is measured not in mere billions, but potentially in trillions. He rules over vast lands rich in minerals, oil, and resources that the world craves. His power goes unnoticed in Western media, but behind closed doors, governments and corporations quietly acknowledge his unrivaled influence. Today, we uncover the story of the trillionaire king of Africa, a monarch whose fortune might just make him the richest man on earth. When you hear about the richest people alive, names like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates dominate the headlines. Forbes lists them meticulously, tracking stock prices and tech valuations. But there is a world of wealth hidden away, untouched by public markets, unknown to Wall Street, and invisible to tax authorities. Africa, the most resource-rich continent on Earth, holds fortunes that no spreadsheet can calculate. And at the heart of this quiet empire is King Mswati III of Eswatini, the last absolute monarch in Africa, and a man whose true wealth defies public estimation. King Mswati III may rule over a small nation, but his personal fortune has long raised eyebrows among economic observers. Officially, Forbes lists him at a modest $200 million. But insiders and intelligence sources suggest this is merely the surface of his wealth. Eswatini, formerly Swaziland, controls extensive diamond mines, fertile agricultural land, and valuable natural resources that are privately held by the royal family. Unlike Western billionaires, King Mswati owns these assets outright. No shareholders, no boards of directors, no public disclosure. In the opaque world of African royalty, wealth is inherited, concealed, and passed down untouched by taxation or government regulation. But King Mswati is not alone. Across the African continent, other monarchs control fortunes that may exceed the net worth of tech giants. The most mysterious of these is King Mohammed VI of Morocco, whose family owns one of the largest private conglomerates in Africa, Société Nationale d'Investissement. This holding company spans banking, mining, energy, telecommunications, and retail, making the Moroccan royal family owners of wealth beyond public estimation. Independent analysts have speculated that the king's personal net worth, combined with sovereign wealth hidden in royal accounts, could easily surpass $100 billion. But because these assets are spread across private holdings and offshore banks, they remain invisible to the world's financial rankings. Then there is the hidden fortune of African oil and diamond kings, monarchs whose control of resources makes them power brokers on the global stage. In Angola, for example, the family of former President José Eduardo dos Santos, known as the Dos Santos dynasty, was estimated to control billions in oil revenue, funneled through private companies and secretive European accounts. Although not technically a monarchy, the family operated with royal privilege, commanding national wealth as a personal inheritance. After his death, investigations revealed tens of billions in hidden assets, enough to rival small nations. But the most staggering hidden wealth may belong to Oba Obateru Akinruntan, the traditional ruler of the Ugbo kingdom in Nigeria. Often overlooked by global media, the Oba is one of the wealthiest monarchs in Africa, thanks to his control of lucrative oil fields in the Niger Delta. His company, Obat Oil, is one of Nigeria's largest privately held petroleum firms, reportedly generating hundreds of millions in revenue annually. In 2014, he famously told reporters that he was richer than King Elizabeth II, citing his collection of Rolls-Royces, private jets, and palaces. But again, the true scale of his fortune, spread across offshore accounts, property empires, and natural resource rights, remains hidden. Why are these fortunes so difficult to quantify? The answer lies in the structure of African royal wealth, which differs profoundly from Western capitalism. In Africa's monarchies, the line between personal wealth and state resources is blurred. Land is not sold or leased. It is inherited by royal lineage, controlled by tribal authority, and administered by kings or chiefs. In nations like Eswatini, the king owns vast swaths of territory personally, collecting rent and revenue from citizens and corporations alike. In Nigeria, traditional rulers command royalties from oil companies operating on their ancestral lands, payments made in secret, unrecorded by public ledgers or international markets. Even state resources are effectively royal property in some cases. In Morocco, the royal palace has influence over phosphate mining, the country's largest export, through state-connected firms. In Angola, billions in oil revenue once flowed through personal accounts of ruling families before reaching national budgets. This fusion of state and personal wealth allows African royals to accumulate fortunes that are impossible to track, making them some of the richest people on earth, even if no official list ever records their names. Western institutions like Forbes or Bloomberg struggle to estimate these fortunes because they depend on transparent data, public stocks, declared assets, audited accounts. African royal wealth operates in a different world: trusts hidden in tax havens, private land holdings stretching for hundreds of miles, and cash transactions never reported to governments. A king who controls diamond mines in Namibia or copper fields in the Congo may never appear on any list, but his personal wealth could exceed that of Elon Musk, whose fortune is tied to publicly traded companies vulnerable to market crashes. But these hidden fortunes are not without controversy. Human rights groups have long criticized kings like Mswati for their lavish lifestyles while citizens suffer in poverty. In Eswatini, more than 60% of the population lives on less than $2 a day, even as the king owns luxury cars, private planes, and multiple palaces. In Nigeria, oil wealth has led to environmental destruction and corruption scandals that enrich local rulers while impoverishing communities. The disconnect between royal wealth and public suffering is a source of political tension across the continent. At the same time, African monarchs argue that their traditional authority preserves culture, unity, and stability in societies torn by colonialism and modern political chaos. In kingdoms like Ashanti in Ghana or Zulu in South Africa, kings serve as symbols of national identity and spiritual leadership, not just political rulers. Their wealth, they claim, is part of this sacred role, supporting festivals, ceremonies, and community development projects that benefit the people. Yet the sheer scale of their hidden fortunes raises uncomfortable questions. If these monarchs truly control trillions in untapped resource wealth, why does so much of Africa remain poor? Why do schools, hospitals, and infrastructure lag behind while kings fly in private jets and collect fleets of luxury cars? The answer, critics say, is corruption and mismanagement, an ancient problem amplified by modern greed. But the picture is more complex than simple theft. Much African royal wealth is tied up in illiquid assets: land that cannot be sold, mines that require foreign partnerships to exploit, oil fields dependent on volatile markets. Moreover, kings and chiefs often face political constraints from national governments, limiting how they can use or invest their fortunes. In some cases, royal families are as much hostages to history as they are beneficiaries of wealth, trapped by tradition, unable to modernize or divest without risking rebellion or scandal. So how much are they truly worth? Some economic historians argue that if the total value of royal land, mineral rights, and offshore assets were ever calculated, certain African kings could qualify as trillionaires, surpassing the net worth of Musk, Bezos, and Arnold combined. The Oba of Nigeria, the King of Morocco, and the monarchs of Eswatini or Lesotho may sit on resource empires whose future value dwarfs any tech company. But because this wealth is private, secret, and ancient, it remains invisible to the modern world. And that may be the greatest secret of all. While the West chases digital fortunes in stocks and cryptocurrencies, Africa's hidden kings hold the oldest form of wealth: land, minerals, and power inherited through bloodlines stretching back centuries. In a world obsessed with new money, the oldest money remains in royal hands, quiet, unseen, and possibly far greater than anyone imagines. This realization challenges the way we think about wealth itself. Is Elon Musk truly the richest man alive if his fortune depends on Tesla's stock price? Or does true wealth belong to the kings whose power and resources are timeless, immune to markets, uncounted by economists? In the coming decades, as Africa's resource boom accelerates, the hidden fortunes of its monarchs may rise to global prominence, shaping geopolitics, energy markets, and technological supply chains. For now, the trillionaire king of Africa remains a mystery, a shadow emperor whose fortune cannot be measured by Wall Street, but whose influence touches every corner of the modern world. Whether the world will ever see the full extent of this wealth remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: in the quiet palaces of Africa's royal courts, there exists a level of power and riches that the world's tech billionaires can only dream of.